Talk about doing some mounted plants, because this is how they would grow in the wild, right on tree branches. I meant to bring in one that just had nothing but roots hanging down, but the way I do these is to take a substrate up. It can be a piece of wood shingle, it can be a piece of bark off a tree that fell down in the backyard. This is tree fern fiber. This is cork from Portugal, the same cork that we make line corks out of. But you just want something that doesn't rot quickly. And then the next thing is to take a piece of wire, put a little bend in it, push it through your cork or your tree fern fiber without stabbing yourself in the process.
I use an ice pick to make the hole first.
Yeah, ice picks work, drills work. I meant to bring my pliers, but I didn't think that far ahead.
And if you were at home, it would have gone right through with no problem.
It was right into my palm, yeah. Okay, now that I've bent that one up hopelessly. There's someone try again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sure.
I must have the toughest cork in the world.
It's not going to break down fast.
Okay, well, we're gonna skip that part of it. So the next thing I do after I get my wire through is to just take a little pad of sphagnum moss, already wetted, because sphagnum moss expands when it gets wet, and if you tie it down dry and then water your plant, it's going to either bust the strings or destroy your plant, or perhaps both. So I put a little pad of sphagnum moss on there, and then I take whatever plant it is that I want to tie up. I'm going to leave those. So this is a little epidendrum species from all over northern and South America. I'm just going to set that on there, and then I raid my fishing supply cabinet, and I get some fishing line. I like to get the thinnest fishing line I can. Some people like big, thick, heavy stuff because it ties easier, or they can see it better.
What's the gauge on it?
This is, I think, 4-pound test. No, this is 6-pound. I couldn't find any 4-pound. So I just wrap it around, and then I go over the stem of the plant, trying not to pin leaves down to the moss. But I want to get as much of the moss tied down. Normally this fish line would be hanging up over my head, so it comes off much easier. Now I just keep going around to make sure that my moss is tied down and the plant is tied down. And I don't pull super tight. If this were a bigger plant, I would have put the plant on a little bit more sphagnum over the roots of the plant. This has tiny little short roots. And then I just tie a couple of regular old granny knots in here. The nice thing with the fish line is it's essentially invisible, so you don't see it on the plant when you're done. And the next thing I would do is to slip a label over the wire on the back so that I know what the plant is. And then you can just hang these on, if you have a curtain rod, those little spring-loaded curtain rods, you can hang these around the curtain rod. So eventually you're going to run out of windowsill space and you're going to start thinking vertical, just like they do in the rainforest. So this is a great way to do it. A lot of people also get a little terrarium set up and take an old fish tank and just hang these on the inside edge of the fish tank. Put a little mister unit down inside the fish tank that comes on for maybe 20 minutes at a time, fills the tank up with fog 3 or 4 times a day. And then it really simulates the cloud forest that some of these things come from. So you'll be able to expand your inventory of weird and unusual. You may want to grow Masdevallias or Draculas or any number of things that would do better in that little humid environment. So this is something that relates to the repotting thing that we're doing today, but this is more how they would grow in nature. We're going to talk about how they're going to grow in pots in a few minutes. Any questions?
If you don't have the mister, how would you water it?
To water this, what you'll either do is just to dunk it in a bucket of water, or take it to the sink and spray it with the spray nozzle, or because I have hundreds of these things, I take a garden hose, but I have a greenhouse, so it's like cheating. But in the home, you're going to want to water this probably every day. if it's in a really humid environment, maybe every 3 or 4 days. But you just want to keep it sort of evenly moist. And because the plastic pot, anything growing in a plastic pot, it can only dry out either from the top or from the vent holes. This is drying out from all 6 sides, so it's going to dry out very quickly. And the idea is just to keep it moist, sort of evenly moist. Other questions? All right. Well,